Hi folks, welcome to omegatimes.com. My name is Mark Winley, and tonight we have Brian Hay, who is the actual director of omegatimes.com. Tonight we'll be talking about some issues that are relevant to the world that we're living in today, and we hope that you'll be intrigued and also informed tonight with what Brian and I are going to talk about tonight. So Brian.
Yes.
Comet Ison, what's your thoughts on this particular matter?
Okay, difficult one. Let me say this at the outset. I'm not totally convinced that it is the crisis that is spoken of. I do see that there is a truth concerning planet Nibiru, what they refer to as Planet X. And it is in the actual Sumerian tablets and in the ancient historical documents that there is another planet that is coming in. And I am aware that there are being seen around the world at certain places at certain times. And because it's a dark planet, it has no light of its own. So it's only when it's in proximity with the sun that it actually highlights. And it's being seen as two suns in the sky. But it's only on certain occasions, but it's there nevertheless. But let me say this, just relating to the Comet Ison, is the fact that there is no question about it. The Bible makes it very clear, and for those that want a reference, in Matthew 24:29, Jesus actually talks there from the prophetic scriptures, and he said there will be signs in the heavens, signs in the sun, signs in the moon and the stars, and the stars, he actually mentions it, stars falling to earth. So there's no question about it. We are facing a time where there is going to be some solar activity and some, I guess, area where some of the planets or the fallout from the planets are going to affect Earth and going to fall to Earth. And that is without question. You will see it again mentioned in Revelation chapter 8, verse 7. Where it talks about how God is going to allow the actual stars to fall and they will strike the planet Earth and judgment will come. There will be destruction and tidal waves and all these sorts of things that are going to come as a result of that. Mentions it again in Revelation chapter 9. And then also another one that is a little earlier in Revelation in chapter 6. And verse 13, and there it talks about the same sort of thing. So coming back to Ison, because that's what the question is in relation to, the fact is that it's coming in close to the orbit of Earth, and as it swings around us, or the sun coming close to us, we will fall right directly within the tail of this massive comet, and as it's come through the belt and picked up all the debris as it's come through the asteroid belt, there is no question about it. There's all these asteroids that are going to literally collide with Earth. And over the last, or just to give an idea, over the last month of September, the actual fallout, or should I say fall in, because it's actually hit Earth, the actual asteroids and some of the rocks that have come already,
that's right,
it is 300 times more than any recorded month equal to that in Earth's history. So there is no question about it. We're facing a crisis of that magnitude.
We're definitely living in perilous times, that's
absolutely, for sure. Absolutely, yes.
What about with this comment in relation to Revelation? Do you think that do you think it could be the case that this comet is like a hairbringer or a precursor to something like a more serious event? Do you think? Or?
Yes, I do. There is no question about that. All throughout Jewish history, when they would see things in the heavens like this, and the scripture makes reference to that. He said when Jesus and all the prophets are talking, they talk about, there will be signs in the heavens, the sun, the moon, the stars, and so it is. There is no question about it. And in Jewish history, wherever they saw that, an unusual circumstance in the heavens, it was an omen to them. It was a warning. And I believe that Comet Ison is the harbinger, and it is the predecessor to something greater and greater magnitude that's coming, which I do personally believe has to do with planet Nibiru and what they're talking about. So, yes, very real.
It is interesting that apparently NASA shut down a lot of their telescopes in regards to finding out information about this, Brian, which is a little bit, I mean, I wouldn't say it's unexpected coming from NASA, but it's interesting nonetheless, do you think?
Oh, absolutely. There is no question about that either. The whole of the secrecy with which the cabal is operating behind the scenes, behind the curtains, behind the veil, as it were, is something totally different to what we assess and ascertain is actually happening. And so these guys have a sinister agenda, there's no question about that, an agenda of their own, and so consequently they will use any crisis of any magnitude in order to be able to slip their agenda in and just pass it through while people's attention is distracted over here, they're doing something over there. And that has always been the case. And this is no exception. What you see with the whole fracas that is actually taking place with the collapse of the economy and the US government right now. And I deal with some fairly high-profile people, and just talking on Saturday night for a couple of hours to somebody in the US and works with right directly with the people in the Fed. And as we were talking, the information and facts were coming out very, very clear that there's a whole different agenda behind this. And so consequently, that's been able to enable them to shut down all the information that could warn the public and reveal to the public what is actually taking place. And so I believe that's all part of it, yes.
Yeah. Interesting. Well, I mean, you know, at the end of the day, it all boils down to, you know, getting ourselves right with God and making sure, you know, we're all on the same boat as Jesus, really, because it's all in the book, and it's very interesting. It's very compelling, and I think that people in general will be inquisitive to find out more information about what's actually going on when it comes with comets and all of this information that's coming to light.
It's true. One of the intriguing things that most people will not be aware of, but I have spent my virtual entire ministry life, 47 years exactly, just researching and searching these things, because I came to Christ under a vision of the end, and the Lord showed me things that would take place upon the earth. And so, not that I want to reference people such as this and people that are into the occult. I don't want to give acknowledgement to that, but there are some interesting things nevertheless that have taken place through history. And there is a woman that in the 1400s, her name was Mother Shipton, and Mother Shipton actually talked about a comet that would come toward the end of time, and it's one of the most fascinating prophecies and poems that was written. So let me just give you some degree of the accuracy of what she said. She said, in respect of it, she wrote several poems, and this is what she said: "And now a word, an uncouth rhyme, of what shall be in future time, for in those wondrous far-off days, the woman shall adopt a craze to dress like men in trousers wear and cut off all their locks of hair. They'll ride astride with brazen brow as witches do on broomsticks." Now, most women wouldn't like to hear that, but nevertheless, she said there's going to be a whole change of the attitude of woman at this age. And then she went on and she said, "And nations will wane as babes decrease," and began to talk about how, you know, the population control and eugenics and euthanasia and all of these things would be impacting. Now, remember, I said that she was alive on the planet in 1400s, before ever America was discovered. American history was discovered in 1492 by Columbus. And this is what she said in that prophecy. She said, "The states will lock in fiercest strife and seek to take each other's life. When north shall thus divide the south, and the eagle build in the lion's mouth. Now the symbol of the Great Britain, of which Canada is still part, is the lion, and the symbol of America is the eagle. And she talks all about the Civil War, and then she comes right down to our age, and she says, in 1926, this is fascinating, they'll build houses light of straw and sticks. Now, they used to build all their houses in England in stone. And what they started in 1926 was the prefabrication of house building with timber and wood. And so they changed it all. She says, in 1926 they'll build houses light of straw and sticks, for then shall mighty wars be planned, and fire and sword will sweep the land. She said that there would be a war between Germany and England that would follow that. She said, and then there would come this union, and it says that France and the whole of Germany and Europe would be aligned, and they would come together as one. And then, at this time, she says, and those who live to see this century through, 19th century, coming into, or should I say 1900s through to the 2000s of the 21st century, she says, those who live this century through in fear and trembling, this will do. They'll flee to bogs and wild fens, for nations shall be in distress and oceans roar. Then Gabriel, the archangel, will stand on sea and shore, and as he blows his wondrous horn, this old world shall die and a new be born. Now, I say all of that just as a prelim to the second poem that she spoke of. Now, let me just quickly just refer to this. She says here in her second poem, let me just get the reference to it. Roaring monsters with man atop does seem to eat the verdant crop, and men shall fly as birds do now, and give away the horse and plough. There'll be a sign for all to see, be a sure and certain sign 'twill be. Pictures alive with movements free, and boats like fishes swim beneath the sea. Man as bird shall scour the sky, as half the world deep drenched in blood shall die. Then here it is. A fiery dragon will cross the sky 6 times before this earth shall die. Mankind will tremble and frightened be, for the 6th time will herald this prophecy. For 7 days and 7 nights mankind will watch this awesome sight. The tides will rise beyond their kin to bite away the shores, and then the mountains will begin to roar, and earthquakes split the plain to shore. And flooding waters rushing in will flood the land with such a din that mankind cowers in muddy fen and snarls about his fellow men. He bares his teeth and fights and kills, and secrets food in secret hills. Amazing.
Interesting.
And ugly in his fear he lies, to kill marauders, thieves and spies. Man flees in terror from the floods, and kills and rapes and lies in blood. And spilling blood by mankind's hands will stain and bitter many lands. And when the dragon's tail is gone, man forgets and smiles and carries on. To apply himself, too late, too late. Mankind has earned his deserved fate. His masked smile, his false grandeur, will serve the gods, their anger stir, and they will send the dragon back to light the sky. His tail will crack, and upon the world to rend the earth, and man shall flee, king, lord, and serf, but slowly they are routed out to seek diminishing waterspout, and men will die of thirst before the oceans rise and mount the shore. Then lands will crack and rend anew. You think it's strange? It will come true. And so there's much more that she talks about, but however,
very interesting.
yes. So it is definitely a situation that many all through the centuries have prophesied and referred to. Now, Ison, I believe, is the forerunner, like you said, the harbinger to that. And I believe it's much, much worse than what we anticipate. But I do believe we are going to go through the tail of that comet, and literally already in just the month of September, they had over 300 registered literal asteroids falling out of the sky all around the Earth. It's never been seen before, never been heard of before. Yeah.
That just brings to thought the Revelation chapter 8, verse 7, where it says, the first angel sounded, and there followed hail and fire mingled with blood, and they were cast upon the earth, and a third part of the trees was burnt up, and all the green grass was burnt up. And the second angel sounded the trumpet, and it was as if it was a great burning mountain with fire was cast into the sea. Now, there's a parallel there. I mean, you could say that that could be an asteroid or a comet or some sort of planetoid body that's crashed into the ocean. It is plausible to think that.
Absolutely. When you look at what actually happened at the turn of last century in Kamchatka in Russia, and you see the massive big explosion when an asteroid hit the Earth there, that literally, they reckon it was huge. It's bigger than anything, that any atomic bomb that they've ever seen. And when you go there, it's this literal whole massive big crater that's been caused there, and just nothing lives there, and it's only started to grow back now. But man, that is massive, and they reckon that it's just literally sent a dust wave right around the whole entire Earth, and literally the actual the light of the sun was blocked around the whole of the globe for several weeks.
Exactly right.
Yeah, so it is massive, and that was not, you know, we're talking with this thing here in Iceland being about 2-3 miles wide now.
But I did hear that it had a coma of over 75,000 kilometres.
Yes, that's right. That's why I say
that's a fair whack of a coma.
Yeah. So that's why I say we don't have enough information, because it's all being hidden from us and kept from us as to what it is, how big it is, how small it is, and there's no question about it. NASA is withholding information about it because there are so many contrary accounts coming out, and other people. I was just looking at one today, and they were just saying that what NASA is feeding out is not true. It is not
correct
fact.
data. No.
Yeah.
Interesting. Well, Brian, that was a very thorough and comprehensive, up-to-date, where we are up-to-date with everything.
Okay.
And what about HARP? What's your thoughts on HARP? What is HARP?
Well,
for the viewers, what would HARP stand for?
There is a man that is a good authority on HARP, and his name is Tom Bearden. If you go on the internet and you punch his name into a search engine, he'll come up. He was one of the scientists that was involved when they actually established HARP, and he was one of the actual brains behind it. But just a bit of information in respect of it to start, so that people can understand what it is. It was based on the technology of what I believe, and was mostly what men around the world will believe, was the greatest scientist that ever has lived on the planet. And his name was Nikola Tesla.
Oh, yes, yep.
Tesla, he made a statement, and he said, "Give me a big enough lever, and I will move the Earth off its axis." Now, he said, it's just a matter of knowing how to do it, because he said the lever that I will use basically is sound. And so what he did, he began to experiment with sound. Now, if you study Tesla's technology, there are many terms and names that are given to it. One of them is, you know, what we would call, and most people in my generation would know it as perpetual motion. That you get an engine that will drive, and you don't even have to feed it. And people and scientists today tell us it's nonsense. Well, I want to say that's the biggest load of rubbish there is. Perpetual motion is a fact. And let me say this, the very fact that our universe is a perpetual motion machine, it literally exists without any help from us. And it is literally just journeying through space, and has done for light years, and literally for ages and aeons. And so we don't motivate it. We don't have to mine the fuel to drive it. It's a perpetual motion machine. It just goes without our help.
Almost free energy.
Absolutely, and that's another term for it.
On that thought, let's come back in a few minutes, and we'll continue with this discussion. Thanks, Brian.
Okay, thank you.